it became very personal. Like death and grief wasn't like in a zip code far away from me. I was living in it. It was now in my house. The goal is not to need the medium. The goal is to recognize you are the medium, and all the medium is doing is getting in the way of what already exists. This was a surprise for me. Kind of going like, oh, there's some stuff in these drawers here that I didn't realize that I had tucked away.
Hi everyone, it's Paolo and welcome to A Spoonful of Paolo. Okay, so today we have a great episode because I am going to be talking with the legendary psychic medium, John Edward. Now, this New York Times bestselling author has a new book out today called Chasing Evil that he co-wrote with an FBI agent. I have to say that the stories in this book are incredible. So if you're into crime and psychics, well, this book is for you. So get ready and I'll see you with John himself.
Spoonful of Paolo, here we go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I have to say, John Edward, thank you so much for being on A Spoonful of Paolo. We are so grateful. I feel like I've known you for such a long time, so to have you on our show, it means a lot to me. So thank you.
Well, you're getting me and you're getting the entire Evolve community, because on the train coming here, I was like, I'm going to do this today. I'll let you know when it's airing.
I'm so honored. I also want to say a big congratulations on this fabulous, I'm telling you, fabulous book, Chasing Evil. I couldn't put this, when they sent me the book, I couldn't put it down. I read this in 2 days.
Wow.
The cases, the stories in here are amazing. And it's basically you working with an FBI agent, Robert Hillen, in the book you call him Bob, for 25 years. And no one knew that you were working with him, but your wife, Sandra, she knew.
She knew.
Even when on your show, none of the producers knew.
Nobody knew.
And you worked with Bob to give him your intuitions, you know, to help him with these cases, to get closer. And the stories, just like I kept saying, oh my God, this happened, this really happened, this really happened. And I know it all really happened. And in a recent interview, you said, I was a little anxious about this because this is a whole different reveal for me. Can you explain how so?
So most of the stuff that I do is to help somebody immediately, whether it be like me doing a reading for that person, there's a transformation effect, hopefully, that comes out with the validations. If I'm doing an event, I'm teaching. If I'm doing a workshop, I'm teaching. Most of my books are more healing and transformative directly to the client. This has a little bit of a, look what I did, right? Like, look at me, look at me. That's what it kind of felt like.
Yeah, and I know you don't.
And I'm not comfortable with that.
Yes.
So there was a little bit of an anxiety. And then I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but I went to The View, and backstage, Sarah Haynes had such an effusive reaction about the book. And it like assuaged all of that for me just by her reaction. And she said, you know, I was like, I needed to hear this. So thank you. So the universe used her as my medium to be able to kind of take away some of that. I remember her telling you even on the show that she couldn't put the book down because she just kept, it was page by page. I mean, this book really, anyone who loves true crimes or psychics, like it has your name all over it. Like you're not going to stop reading. You're going to keep reading and reading. And the first time that Bob heard you, I think it was on the radio, 95.5. Yeah. Yes. And it was in 1998. And he thought you were a con. Like he's like, oh, this guy, how can people listen to him? I don't get it. And he's a tall guy. Like I've seen him. Yeah, he's
like 6'8". Yeah. So, but then when you guys worked on your first case together, you had asked him to bring 4 objects from the victim. And so what he did is he went around his office, and got 4 other objects from his coworkers, these ladies. And then he placed them in front of you. And what happened? Because he was trying to see, okay, let me see if John is the real thing or something.
So my assistant was the one who actually organized.
Reached out, yes.
Yeah, my assistant, he reached out to my office. My assistant kind of gave him the sense of urgency, set up the appointment, and said, hey, bring items that belong to the person or the case that you want him to kind of connect with. And what that is called psychometry. So psychometry is where you hold on to a person's object and you're able to read their energy. And there's 2 types of psychometry. There's objective and subjective. In this case, I was going to do objective psychometry for the case. And this is where I tell people, never give a medium a photo of a person who's passed, and never give a medium an object that belongs to a person that's passed, because you could read those energies and it could seem like it's a connection rather than actually a connection. So he brought, I think, like 5 real things of evidence, and then went around and got 4 additional things. So there were like 9 bags in front of me, and he used those as controls. And he wanted to see, like, okay, what's he going to do? If he picks up somebody in the office and starts talking about the case, he goes, I'm going to see this as being not real. And I kind of moved those 4 things out of the way and said,
that's what you wrote in the book, I remember.
I was like, this has nothing to do with your case. And then I kind of tuned into the energy of the actual case. And I treated it like a regular client. If somebody sits in front of me, I have no understanding of who they are and why they're there. I just kind of go with what I'm seeing, hearing, and feeling. And then I look to see what is the kind of like the story that's getting formulated in my mind. So I kind of feel like I'm a journalist when I'm doing a reading. I want to know the who, the why, the what, the where, the how, and what's the lesson. And that's what I was doing with him. So my investigative mindset within the reading, meeting his investigative mindset within criminality work, kind of came together in that one case.
Wow. I love when you say, because you weren't working for the FBI, you were working for, as you say, the three letters. You say
B.O.B.
B.O.B. I love when you say that.
I was going to have a T-shirt called the B.O.B.
I mean, that'd be so cool. I mean, some of the stories, I mean, I won't go too much into it because I know people are still reading it, but like you talk about a dream that you had about a former president and what happened from there and how you basically saved his life. And then you talk about 9/11, having this feeling that came upon you, and you basically saved your wife. When you read the book, you'll see why. What was it like for you to go back at that time? Because a lot of the voice is Bob. Some of you also have a voice in this book as well. So what was it like for you to go back at that time and write this down in this book?
So there was a lot of like reviewing for me, right? So going back over the last 2 decades, revisiting like September 11th and those stories, and then getting the perspective of what Bob did on the ground, on Ground Zero. I've never been to Ground Zero. And I'm a New Yorker. So going back and revisiting a lot of that kind of was like reflective and healing, but in a more personal way for me. And the reason why is that I had a New York City police officer dad who I was not close to. And he and I were disconnected. We were no contact at the end of his life. And I felt like I did all the work I needed to when I became a dad. What I didn't get, I learned how to give. So I kind of feel like we always work through our patterns in the best way we can. And I felt like I did it with the tools that were in front of me, which would be my kids. Doing this book, I found I was doing that work with Bob and I didn't know that I was doing it.
Wow.
So I kind of felt like the universe was like, he's got some unresolved patriarchal trauma dealing with law enforcement. Let's send this guy in. It'll come in through like the real world case and he'll help him professionally, but it'll put John Edward on the journey personally. So I want people to recognize that we're all learning. We're all students of the universe. We're all still in class while we're in this physical body. And how are we evolving even when we think we're done?
That's beautiful. Yeah. You know, speaking of your dad, on page 348, you said this, as for me, working with Bob for more than 2 decades helped me examine my issues with my own police officer father. I was able to revisit deep traumas of my own and work through them. Like Bob, I sought acceptance and approval from patriarchal figures because of my father. He and I have both found healing in this area, as you were saying. But do you feel you have more of a truthful relationship with your dad being on the other side? Do you feel like it's more truthful because now you're at peace with this, do you think?
I thought I had that. So in 2002, when my dad transitioned, I immediately, when I found out that he had passed, welcomed him in, because I know that when people transition, they're no longer playing.
It's not the physical.
They're not the character that they were here, right? So all the issues that he might have had here, I know he doesn't have those there. And now I know that he's got the understanding of who he was and how we were. And so I released all of that because I know that's not who he is. So it's like, I'm not going to hold on to something negative for me towards him when he's no longer that energy. But that doesn't mean that when I look at my past, I'm going to redefine that, because that happened. Right. Those were catalytic moments to make me who I am today.
Yeah, it affected you.
So I embrace all of that.
Yeah.
So I actually felt like I was good because I have a relationship with my dad now that he's in spirit. I allow him in my life, right? Like I feel connected to him in spirit. So this was a surprise for me. Kind of going like, oh, there's some stuff in these drawers here that I didn't realize that I had tucked away, right? It's like, so the universe came and said, hey, time to cleanse that. Wow. And I'm sure if you looked at my astrological chart, you would say, well, it's happening at this period of time now for this reason, right? Metaphysically. But physically, it was the time to tell the story because Bob was retired.
Wow. Your mom passed away on October 5th, 1989, I believe. And the day that she passed away, I remember hearing the story that you went into your 1987 Pontiac Grand Am. It was always on this, it always was on this FM station, but it was on the AM station.
It was on
PLJ. That your mom would always force you to listen to. And the song You'll Never Walk Alone was playing. What impact did that have with you losing your mom? Because you were 19 years old, and I think your mom was 48 years old. So what impact did that have on you with losing her? Because I think you were 4 years into this journey.
It was life-changing. I mean, literally, like, people use the word life-changing. For me, it was life-changing because my work from 1985 to 1989 really wasn't talking to the other side. My work when people came to see me was where are they at now in their lives and what's coming up for them. I was much more the kid from Long Island who, people would come to about relationship stuff and their jobs and all of that. And on occasion, I would make connections with people in spirit, and that would happen in the beginning. Then in 1989, everything changed because now I needed to know, like, okay, is she going to be a part of my life? Like, when I get married, will she be there? If I have kids, will she see them? It became very personal. Like, death and grief wasn't like in a zip code far away from me. I was living in it. It was now in my house. And my grandmother was still alive at the time. So I had to balance my grandmother who lost her child with me who lost my mom. And I almost felt like her loss was greater than mine, even though it's not. It just, watching her, lose a child was immense, right? So all of that kind of shaped my perspective, and my quest for validation was just enormous.
Oh my God.
Like, it was just enormous. So when I read for a client, I was really reading for me. I remember I was at a psychic fair at the Marriott in Uniondale, Long Island. That's how clearly I remember this.
I was going to say.
And there was a woman who got married and her dad came through. And when I did the psychic fairs, they were like 15-minute readings. So normally I wouldn't do mediumship in a 15-minute reading because I needed more time. But her dad came barreling through and talked all about her wedding in great detail. And when the reading was over, she said, "I need to hug you." And when I hugged her, she said, "Thank you for giving me my dad back." And all I could think about in that moment was she brought me closer to my mom. Because in that moment, I recognized that if that dad could be at his daughter's wedding, then my mom would eventually be at mine, right? So those are the moments that we all get a chance to learn through. The reading wasn't for me. I did the reading. And that's what I tell people, like, I actually help. I feel like what helped me navigate grief was doing readings for strangers. And that's why I tell people, like, I lecture all around the world, right? I'm constantly on tour. And when people don't get read, there's always that feeling of disappointment in the room. But the reality is, if they're in the room, they are read. If they're paying attention.
I believe that, yes.
Because
if they're paying attention.
You're getting a chance to wear everybody's
and not
experience.
worry about, is he going to pick on me? Is he going to come to me? Is he going to do reading on me? Yeah. You say one of the first signs that your mom sent you were white birds. I think it was at a memorial service on October 8th. And
wow, dude.
Yeah. And she,
you do your research.
And she sent you those signs. You also have said that, the first year you call the coasting year, where, people want to be there for your friends, want to be there for the first. It's the first birthdays, the first holidays. And then you say the second year is the worst. And with me losing my mom will be 4 years in January, and I have to say it's 100%. You feel so alone the second year. So when someone is in a deep grief, where do they go from there, do you think, especially being in that second year where they feel alone?
I think that we have to be very, very present with our grief. I think we have to look at grief as being like alive, not something that's like an object, right? When we think about grief, sometimes people think about it like, oh, like that spoon right there, which it's just like, it exists, but it's really not that. It has more of a living kind of an energy where sometimes it's bigger and then sometimes it kind of gets like quieter, but it's very, very patient. It's one of the most patient emotions I think that we have. Like, it just sits back and goes, how about now? No, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and wait. And then we get really good at controlling it, blocking it, compartmentalizing it, putting it away, doing stuff with it.
That's so true.
And then you have this moment where there's an unexpected thing that happens and you aren't prepared for it. And then that's when it hits you. Like, it hits you in a really, really big way. So I want people to work with, navigate. And a lot of times people will come to me for, a session and they're thinking that they need me. And I'm very clear on the fact that they don't need me. What they need is a grief therapist or a grief group or a grief specialist. So on the Evolve community, right? So I have a community that I created called Evolve Plus. On there, we have 2 amazing grief specialists. And the reason why they're there is I want people to peripherally hear their messages. Even though they may not directly work with Brian D. Smith or Diane Gray, they're hearing their words. And the words are in the live streams. The words are in the posts. And we're given language. And language gives us safety because then it gives us something to work with. The next time we have that feeling, the next time we have that emotion, we can go, oh, okay, I am in the second year. There's nothing wrong with me. And that's why I speak about the second year, because I want people to create that sacred space in grief. But we can get stuck in any year of grief. There have been people who have been, paralyzed for decades. Ricky Gervais did an amazing show called Afterlife on Netflix. And he has, I think it's like 2 seasons. It is about somebody who's in deep grief, who does not move through it and stays in it, and how it affects their life. And I think there couldn't have been a better person than Ricky Gervais to do that show, because he's an agnostic or an atheist. So therefore, he doesn't have a belief in the divine. There's nothing to fall back on. It's just when you're dead, and how do you live your life without that belief system? Which I feel sad when people have that. I always want to empower people to have some type of faith to lean into. Faith is free, religion you pay for, right? But believing in the divine, nothing wrong with that. It's a nice foundation. But from an energetic standpoint, I want people to know that there's a survival of consciousness, that life and love are eternal, and that where there's love, there's connection.
Yeah, I truly believe that 100%. Something you always say, and it's always stuck with me. You said that grief and love are the same coins, just different side. I don't know why, but when you said that, I'm like, God, it's so true.
So I used to work in a heart hospital, and when people would have open heart surgery, they would get a heart pillow. And so if they had a sneeze or if they had a cough, because they had stitches, they would hold that close to their chest. So if they coughed, it was kind of like they wouldn't open up their stitches, whatever. And it would have like a logo on it, or they have words. That's my symbol. I see a heart, and one side says love, and the other side says grief. So when we have somebody that's with us, we can physically touch them, we can hug them. But when they're not there, we don't have a place to do that. So that's where the grief comes in. So I flip that pillow around to the grief section. So the goal is, with understanding and empowerment, we can flip that back. So grief is the other side of love.
Oh my God, I don't know why that's hitting me so deep. It's hitting me so deep. I have to say, like you, I grew up Italian Catholic. So because of the show, I've had this open mind of learning things. Like when my mom passed away, I'm seeing a grief therapist. I've been reading books. I've been listening to podcasts. But the one thing that has left a huge impact was seeing a psychic medium. And I have to tell you, that literally, like I said, left the greatest impact on me. I don't know, from everything. But to me, it makes me a little bit sad that growing up, people put, my aunts or uncles, you can't see one, they're devils or this, or against, Catholic, God's the one who gives you the answer. It's all that noise. But wouldn't it be better if somebody wanted to see one, or go to an event and be in the audience and hear what you or they have to say?
Right.
It would be so, I feel like there is nothing wrong with someone trying, because you're doing just listening and trying to find some healing and feel closer to that person you lost from the other side. It would just be a better world.
What I love about what you're saying is that you had a reading. The reading validated a connection in spirit. So your reading showed you that you're not alone. Your reading showed you you're still connected, because where there's love, there's connection. The only downside to going to see somebody who does what I do is if you're going to continue to externalize your connection. The goal is not to need the medium. The goal is to recognize you are the medium, and all the medium is doing is getting in the way of what already exists. We're just validating for you in that brief moment of connection. Hey, we're going to do the talking for them because we can hear them a little bit clearer. But you don't need us to do that, because your family doesn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Your family wants to talk to you, right? And I think so often people that are grieving will surrender their process of grief and be like, fix me, heal me, do it for me. And I'm like, no, that's not the goal of this.
Yeah.
The goal is for you to recognize, after our experience together, or the one that you had, that you don't ever need a reading again. Is it nice to hear? Yes.
Of course.
Is it a cool validation?
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. But I think the goal is to live your life with an understanding that you are connected.
You just talking to me, there's something so unique and special about you. I don't know, but it's just hearing these words and what you're saying, I'm connecting with in such a beautiful way, really. So I want to thank you. You've been on this journey for 40 years, like 40 years. You were 15 years old when you started. I think your parents got a divorce when you were 12, 13 years old. You went to go live with your grandmother, your mom's mom. They had a big, large Italian family. Yep. The first reading you did was with Lydia.
Yep.
You were going to walk in there kind of like Bob or your dad saying, "Oh, I'm going to prove this is not."
Oh, yeah.
You had that attitude,
yeah.
just like I did before.
At
You
15.
did too. Yeah, at 15 years old. But you walked out
At least
of
Bob
there.
was professional.
Yeah, exactly. But you walked out of there completely, like, it had a huge impact on you just doing that with Lydia.
Oh yeah, I felt violated. I didn't think
Remember
it was
you saying that in the book, yeah.
I didn't find that really exciting and cool. I found it like, whoa, like this is not. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like this. You know, if you've ever had somebody say, "Oh, this is delicious. You should try this," and you've heard like a number of people try it, and a number of people go like, "Oh my God, this is delicious. You should try this," and then you taste it, and it's foul to you. You have that moment of like, what is wrong with all of you? That's how I felt. Wow. Like, what is wrong with all you people? Like, why would you let somebody in? Why would you let somebody do that? So for me, my journey was, how did she do this? Oh, more importantly, how do I make sure nobody else could ever do this to me again? And that sent me to the public library.
And that's where you started getting those books, one that fell on you exactly.
Yeah. And then it was like, okay, so I'm learning. I'm evolving. So at 15, that was a big, it was a big eye opener for me. Because like all of a sudden it's like this woman who claimed that she could do this could actually do that.
Wow.
And then told me I could do this. And it wasn't like I went to go learn how to do this. It was more like I went to learn how nobody else can go do this for me. And energetically, the byproduct of that was my evolution, which has kind of been the foundation of everything I do. Because I feel like with information, with teaching people what's out there, then I can get them to evolve.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like, that's cool. For me, to get you to go from a place of darkness to a place of light is really, really cool.
Yeah. And speaking of first two, the first person you saw from the other side was your grandfather who passed away before you were born. Sure. I remember you came out of the shower, you were towel drying your hair, and then you saw him, he looked at you, smiled, and ran away, and your grandmother was there watching her soap opera, Love of Life.
Holy crap, dude. Wow.
and then she said, describe him, and when you described who you saw, she knew right away that was your grandfather. Did your mom, did your grandmother, did they know at such a young age that there was something special, you had this talent, this gift? Did they just know that you were going to be on this journey?
I can answer this in so many different ways. Let's see. I was told that they thought I was mentally disabled up until 2 because I used to stare off into nothing with my mouth open, which is really, really funny because if you go on my Instagram page,
yes,
the photo that they have of me is like with my mouth open, right? So I was like, oh, nothing's changed. But I was told I had a vivid imagination, that my dreams were like movies. Like I heard stuff like that. My mom used to say to me, you know, you're special. And I used to be like, why didn't you tell me that I was kind of like different? And she was like, I used to tell you I was special all the time. I'm like, but you had to tell me I was special. Like, I'm your kid. Like, that's your job. And she was like, no, you were kind of like special. Like, you were like different. But nobody ever made a big deal about it. Nobody made a big deal about it that I would have been like, I'm different.
Yeah, but I remember when you were in 4th grade, your teacher, Mrs. Worthy, there was a spelling contest, and I think the word was phlegm, and you were the only one to spell that word correctly. Like, I think everybody else spelled it with the letter F. And then your teacher, Mrs. Worthy, asked your mom at parent-teacher conference, how did your son know how to spell this word? What did your mom say to her then?
My mom said that my dad's sister was a nurse and had a medical background, but she wasn't so prevalent in my upbringing that I would have been learning medical, jargon. And they looked at me and they said, how did you know how to spell that? And I said, she wrote it on the board. And the teacher said, no, I didn't. And I remember having a hot flush of energy go from like here down to my stomach because I was like, my mom's gonna like accuse me of lying. And that was a big no-no. And I remember going to the teacher, she's lying. But in reality, where I sat in the class, like if this is the door, I sat in this row all the way in the back. When I looked up, it was on the board in front of me. Mrs. Worthley was over here. There's no way she could have given the word, wrote it on the board and sat down. But in 4th grade, I wasn't being logical,
Yeah, but
I knew what I saw.
Your mom always said when you were 12, 13 years old, she told people, look at my son, look at this face, because one day he's going to be famous. And so, if your mom were physically here today and, you wrote this book with Bob and how many people you have helped. You've helped so many different people, different backgrounds, who've either seen you on YouTube, on your show or something. What would she say, you think, about you and this book that you helped write?
I think she'd be very proud. I think she'd be very proud. Yeah.
I think that too.
Yeah, I think that is ultimately she would have that, like, I knew it, like I said it. She had a phrase, and that phrase was, if you can help one person in your life, then it's all worth it. If your message should reach one person and change your life, then it's all worth it.
Oh my God. That's, and you've helped more than one person, but for her to say that and know just one person that you've, helped them come back to their life, that there's meaning, that there's love, that is, that's beautiful. What do you know for sure, do you think, about the other side? If someone were to ask you, can you tell me, what do you know for sure about the other side? What would you say?
I would say I don't know anything for sure. And I think it would be remiss for anybody in our field who's on this side of the veil to say, I know this for sure. I could say aspects I know for sure. I know for sure that they're with us. I know for sure that they connect with us. I know for sure they intervene on our behalf. I know for sure that they don't want us to be sad. I know for sure they want us to have really good memories in our heart and connect with them. Those are things that I know aspect-wise for sure. But I can't tell you for sure what I know about the afterlife because I live here, not there.
Les, I'm just thinking about this right now. A few weeks ago, my husband and I, we lost our dog, Nyla, who was with us for nearly 16 years. And I'm having this thing of wondering, like, is Nyla like with my mom? Do dogs go on the other side? I keep hearing people both saying, yes, no, it's an animal, but what would you think?
It's a total yes. And animals will communicate exactly in the same way that people can communicate. And I usually will say to someone who lost a pet, the way your pet will let you know at night that they're there is when your head is on the pillow and you're kind of like relaxing and you're just about ready to go off, you'll feel by the foot of your bed, I call it the thwop. It feels like thwop. That you would stop and think, wait, because it's like they just jumped on the bed, they just like flopped over next to your ankles. Like there's some type of energetic feeling that you'll get, even if they were an outside dog, because they know that they'll get you to pay attention to it. Sometimes you'll hear their bark. Sometimes you'll hear on the floor, you might hear their paws. Like there'll be things that will be like, you'll hear those moments. And when you have that, just know that the gift of 16 years goes on, just not in the same physical world sense.
2 nights ago, we were in this hotel room. I was preparing for this interview, and I told my husband this. I felt I was in the room laying on the bed, and I just stopped working on this because I felt that Nyla was there, her head on the pillow next to me. So you saying that, just it's another validation. I can't tell you
how many times pets come through in readings.
Wow.
And how most people are more excited to hear about their pets than sometimes their own family. It's actually really funny to watch.
With the family, there's like in and out, like, oh, I have problems there, but with the dog, like
even in the entire audience, like I could like do 2 or 3 readings, at an event, separate families, and people are just kind of like nodding and listening, and then I'll be like, oh, I have Fluffy here, and all of a sudden the entire room's like, oh, all I can think about are the people that just came through, going like, what about me,
I have this stone here, and I know you've had one forever, like when you do your readings, and I purposely have this here because, and it says trust. It says trust on it because I know you have one when you do your readings. And I have to tell you that I have so much trust in you. The minute you walked into this room, I don't know, there was just something that felt very, like for me, calm.
I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm sitting in a parallel universe with a different version of myself because you have I felt like I should have studied for this interview because you have such details. Like, I'm not used to that. Like, I'm used to people like asking me questions and then I'll share the stories. But like, you already know all this stuff. It's kind of very impressive.
Well, I care so much for our guests. I care so much for you. And I think your story, more than your gift, your talent, your story is so amazing because you were one who didn't believe in yourself, didn't believe in this, and then you couldn't escape it. Like, it's like this was your calling. This is where you needed to be. And thank God, honestly, that you continue to follow that because you've helped so many people. And I know your mom, of course, is just so with a big smile up there. We wanted to get you something special to celebrate your book. So we had something made for you just because I know you took a chance with this, and I'm so glad you and Bob wrote this because I'm telling you, everybody needs to read the stories in this book. So we had this created for you. It's a special vase, okay?
That's
made for you. Chasing Evil,
Dude, that is amazing with the beautiful autumn colors.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was supposed to be made.
Thank you so much.
It is our way of saying thank you. Like, really, thank you for just believing in yourself and for going all the way with this and not listening to the naysayers or to the critics or whoever they are. Like, I'm glad you found that and said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go, like your mom said, whether you can help one person, whoever it is, but it's more than one. And I know we all thank you. I speak for everyone who's watching this saying, oh, I wish I could meet John. I know there's some people who want to meet you and come to this or can come, but I know I speak for everyone saying thank you, thank you, thank you for just allowing your gift to shine through you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, John Edward. You can get the book Chasing Evil. It's out wherever books are sold. I'm telling you, you are going to love it. You're going to love it. Yeah, thank you. So give us a thumbs up if you like the episode. If not, move on to the next one. Okay, yes. All right, bye everyone. Have a great day. Mwah. And thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Oh my God. I could have literally have talked more and more, but I'm respectful of the time.
This is like the only second time where I've had an interview with somebody where I had that moment of like, oh my God, am I gonna know the answers to my life?
Spoonful of Paulo.
I love you, Oprah. Bye everyone, we'll see you next time.